Okay. So, for making you understand how PLC is selected, I will take you to one document. Uh, okay. So I'll present the screen over here. So are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the topic is selecting a PLC for the application. You want to develop an application by using a PLC, and your problem is which PLC, because PLCs are available in different configuration. So which PLC configuration would be appropriate for you, so that we need to decide. So what are those parameters on which the selection of PLC is dependent? So those parameters we are going to discuss in today's lecture. So the following aspects should be considered for selection of PLCs for given application. So first is system definition. So system definition is nothing but a technique of functional decomposition can be applied to define the whole system. So whole PLC system can be defined, can be divided into three categories. So hardware, software, and programming. So these are the three categories in which you can divide the uh, entire application. Okay. So what kind of hardware you require, what kind of software you require, what kind of programming language that you are going to use. So you need to decompose your application into these three categories. Hardware, so which involves various input devices, output devices, processing devices. Then the software, so software means the programming part, or the platform on which uh, you are writing the program. And then the third one is a program. Okay, so whether you are using a ladder programming, whether you are using a sequential functional block. So there are various PLC programming languages. Mnemonics is there, then functional block diagram is there. So these are the PLC programming languages. So which PLC programming language you are using, uh, and accordingly you need to select the software, and accordingly according to your application you need to select the hardware. So the functional decomposition of the application means you need to divide your application into hardware, into software, and into program. Okay. So whenever you are developing any hardware, or sorry, whenever you are developing any application, so what kind of hardware is required, what kind of software is required, and which kind of program that you are going to uh, write. So all these things are nothing but the system definition. The second is choosing the IO hardware. So various types of input and output modules are available. Okay. So uh, based on the type and the speed of the operation. So like I said, in the hardware, if you see the hardware part, we have decomposed the entire application into three categories, that is hardware, software, and program. So first, let us see the hardware part. Now, hardware part is again divided into input devices, output devices, and processing devices. So, what kind of hardware uh, required for the application? What kind of input hardware, what kind of output hardware are required? So that we need to consider. Now, various types of input and output modules are available based on the types and the speed of the operation. So, which type of operation you are undertaking, what kind of speed you require, what is the response time of the application. So, all these things uh, are important in selecting the IO hardware. The list of modules and the size of the PLC system are determined by knowing the member of any type of IO line we need. So, and the number of lines available on the given module. Now this PLC hardware has got its fixed number of input ports and fixed number of output ports. Now if your application involves 9 sensors, okay, so you are developing any application. Imagine you are developing an application where 9 sensors are required, and we know that sensors are input device. So 9 input devices. So whenever you are selecting the PLC controller, programmable logic controller, PLC controller, so you must select the PLC which has got more than 9 number of input ports, because the PLC is defined by number of input ports and number of output ports which can be handled by that controller. So in your application, if there are 9 input devices, then you must select the PLC which has got more than 9 input ports in it, right? So similarly, similar is the case with the output ports. If you have 9 output devices, like you are having a solenoids, you are having motors, buzzers, alarms, etc., etc. And so total 9 output devices you require, and the PLC must accommodate more than 9 output devices to be connected. Then only your application would be uh, feasible. So number of, depending upon the number of input lines you require, depending upon the number of output lines you require, accordingly you need to select the hardware. Then the third consideration for selecting the PLC is IO timing consideration. Okay, input output timing consideration. Now what is this timing consideration? It is the most important to determine uh, how fast, that is speed of operation. We are talking in terms of speed of operation. So how fast the subsystem of the input program and the output must react to changing input conditions. Okay. Now sensor has detected any physical change in the property, and uh, it takes a lot of time to process that signal. So the response time of the hardware is not fast. Okay. So response time of the hardware is not fast, and that is why the entire application is not going to work. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे आपके हाथ पे अगर कोई मच्छर बैठता है, तो सिग्नल्स तुरंत आपके ब्रेन में जाते हैं, और ब्रेन जो है डिसाइड करता है, प्रोसेस करता है सिग्नल को, और अकॉर्डिंगली वो हाथ को इंस्ट्रक्शन देता है कि वो उसके ऊपर में एक ऐसा कुछ मारे ताकि मच्छर उड़ जाए. लेकिन अगर ब्रेन को प्रोसेस करने में इतना टाइम लग रहा है कि उतने देर में वो मच्छर जो है वो आपका जो है ब्लड जो है वो सक करके उड़ भी जा रहा है, और उसके बाद में आप हाथ मार रहे हो, तो उसका कोई फायदा नहीं. ओके. So the response time of the hardware should be fast enough to complete the application. Now, analog IO module. So we know that sensors are the input devices, and the output of the input device is in terms of analog. The sensor senses the signal, the sensor senses the physical quantity and convert it into analog voltage. So the output of the sensor is in the form of analog voltage. The output of the input device is in terms of analog voltage. Okay. So there are many terms used to set out to select analog modules for describing the performance. So these are resolutions. So resolution is something very, very important. It defines how accurately analog to digital or digital to analog conversion within the module can represent an analog voltage as a binary number or vice versa. Now we know that we have seen uh, digital to analog conversion and analog to digital conversion. In analog to digital conversion, the input is analog voltage, and that analog voltage is converted into digital signal in the binary signal in the form of 101110, like that. Okay. So what is the resolution of that converter is very important. Like for example, if the resolution of the converter is 4 bit, so that means there is a very less range available as a digital output. Okay, maybe for few volts only it can give the output in digital form, and if the input voltage increases, then that converter is not capable of handling such a high voltage. So that is a limitation of that particular analog to digital conversion. But if you use 8 bit analog to digital converter, so the range of the input voltage is greater than that of 4 bit analog to digital converter. So if you increase the the resolution of the hardware, uh, then its capability of handling the higher values also get increased. So this is called resolution. So how long a data can be handled by a hardware is the resolution. So if you increase the resolution of the hardware, accordingly, uh, uh, the accuracy part of the hardware also increases. Then second is isolation. It refers to the ability of each input unit to work at a voltage level independent of the system ground. So it refers to the ability of each unit to work at a voltage. So if the number of components in the system are allowed to work at different voltage levels, so then you can have a wide variety of the devices you can utilize for that application. Okay? So if you put the the limit on the voltages to be handled, so in that case, you don't have much choices to select the components. So that is called isolation. Then the voltage level. Okay. So voltage level is also a very important criteria. It is essential to know the maximum voltage of the input to be measured, and then the module voltage range is selected just greater than its level. Now, for example, uh, we should know what is the output of any sensor. Okay, so what is the maximum output of the sensor? All the sensor has got its maximum voltage. Okay, like for example, if some sensor is there whose maximum voltage is 5 millivolt. Okay, so uh, if you know the maximum voltage to be measured by the input devices, accordingly you can select the PLC hardware. Okay, so how many different input devices are there? What are the maximum voltage which may come to the PLC hardware? So all these calculations are required. Okay, so what are the different voltage levels of the input devices, and accordingly you can calculate the amount of voltage to be handled by the PLC hardware. So that is voltage levels. Similarly, like voltage level, you also have to handle the current levels also. Okay. So what is the maximum current level of the input device or the output device, and accordingly this information help us in selecting the PLC, appropriate PLC for your application. Okay. So the the voltage levels of the input devices, the current level of the input devices, the voltage levels of the output devices, the current level of the output devices, all these will contribute in selecting the PLC, appropriate PLC for your application. Then next is conversion speed. Fifth point is conversion speed. So the choice of conversion speed basically depends upon the number of readings per second we need to capture. So the conversion speed is uh, all about the application. For example, if you are measuring a temperature, okay, so we don't require variation. We don't require variation in temperature in every 1 millisecond, because the temperature in the rate of change of temperature is a slow process. We cannot say it is a very fast process. Okay? So we may require temperature reading in every 5 seconds, and this 5 second period is very high as far as processing speed is concerned. So if we require temperature in every 5 seconds, then you can consider that the conversion speed we require is very slow. So we don't have to invest much of a money in selecting a very advanced kind of hardware. Okay, because these electronic devices or electronic hardwares pricing is depending upon its processing speed. So if you go for higher processing speed, then you may have to spend a lot of money in it. And if you select the low speed, slow speed hardware, then your investment or your amount will be drastically reduced, exponentially reduced. Okay. So for selecting any PLC, you should know what kind of conversion speed you require, and accordingly you can select the hardware, and accordingly you can, like, your uh, finance part or economic part can be judged. Okay. So what conversion speed is required, what kind of hardware it requires, and if you require a slow speed hardware, then your budget would be less. And if your application is very transient, very fast, just like if you are measuring a vibration. So for measuring a vibration, 1 second data contains a lot of mode shapes. It can change the pattern 1000 times in 1 second. So for applications such as vibration measurement, it requires a lot of volatile data, a lot of flexible data, a lot of transient data, where the parameters are changing very fast. So in that case, the hardware required for processing such a uh, fast changing data, you require very high end instrumentation, and accordingly the cost of the hardware also goes up. So it all depends upon the convergence speed you require. Then sixth point is analog closed control. So analog inputs sometimes are used as a feedback to control a process by controlling relay outputs or varying and analog output. So in such case, scan speed must be estimated from the program size. Now, while developing a ladder programming for PLCs, particularly for the timers and the counters, we come across the relay switches. So all these relay switches are work in tandem. If if one is normally open, the other one is normally closed, or one is normally closed, the other one is normally open. So they work in tandem, they work in relay model. So uh, the speed of working of these relays are also very important. Then seventh point is counters, encoders, and positioning. So in order to select the PLC hardware, we need to consider the speed, the total number of pulses to be counted, and the positioning accuracy. So where we are placing, that is very important from the selection point of view. Then next point is communication. So when we are selecting a PLC, we need to evaluate the communication facility is adequate for the application. All PLCs have some sort of built-in communication facility to the programmer port. If a built-in communication facility is not sufficient, then option of the add-on ports, high-speed LAN, etc. should be considered. So communication, what kind of communication you require in the PLC? Like for example, you may have a parallel communication, you may have serial communication. So how many parallel ports are required? How many serial ports are required? Okay. So what kind of communication is happening within the PLC? So all these things are required for selecting the PLC hardware. Okay, so communication is also very important consideration for selecting PLCs. Then next point is choosing the correct processor. Okay, so this is the most important criteria for selecting the any PLC. So a PLC processor is selected based on the capacity, functionality, program speed, and size. Capacity is determined by the capability of the processor to work with a number of each type of module. Functionality of PLC is capability to program to perform the logical operations required to control of the plant and the sequences. The program scan speed is dependent upon the speed of the operation of the PLC and the length of the program. The maximum speed of the PLC that any input is read of any output is switched is equal to the program scan time. Okay. So these PLCs are available in different sizes. We have seen the size of the PLC is depending upon the size of the data which can be handled by the controller. We have seen 8085 microprocessor which can handle 8-bit data at a time. So accordingly, nowadays the controllers are available with higher data size like 16-bit or 32-bit or 64-bit. So depending upon the speed of the scanning, speed of the program scanning you require, you need to select the correct processor. Then 10th point is selecting the suppliers. Okay. Now there are various suppliers available in the market. Every supplier has got its own reputation, and every supplier has some trust associated with it. Like for example, we always consider Maruti is very reliable because some kind of a trust is associated with that brand. So accordingly, there are various suppliers which has got its own brand value. Like for example, ABB are there, then Siemens are there. So these are the trusted brands, and depending upon their brand values, also you can select the PLCs. The choice of the suppliers for the PLC is based on the following: functionality and features. So then customer support, customer acceptability, user knowledge, and cost. Okay, because these suppliers have different capabilities. The hardware is available in different capabilities. Their cost wise they are different, functionality wise they are different, feature wise they are different, and uh, uh, customer also has got its acceptability level. Okay, so uh, all these things are important for selecting a PLC. So in general, PLCs are selected based on the following. So if you see, we have seen these 10 parameters which are important for selecting the PLCs, and these 10 parameters are categorized into 4 categories. that is IO capacity required, second type of input output required, then size of the memory required, speed and power of the CPU. Okay. So all these 10 points which we have seen for PLC selection is categorized into this four category, that is IO capacity required, type of input output required, size of memory required, speed and power of CPU. Okay. So this is how PLC can be selected or hardware can be selected for any application. Now we move on to now we will see some of the applications of the PLC. Okay, we will take various situations, and for that situation, we try to develop the ladder program. So here from here onwards, you can take these application as one of the numericals. So here you can see that this is the first numerical. We will treat each and every application of the PLC as a numerical, and these numericals will be solved uh, by developing a ladder program. Okay. So these PLC application, we will treat it as a numerical, and the solution of this numerical would be the ladder programming. Okay. So you have to develop the logic, and you have to draw the ladder programming for the given application. So from here onwards, we will see some of the PLC applications. We try to develop the ladder logic for the applications, and then we try to develop your logical thinking and programming capabilities through these applications. The more number of applications we will solve, the more better your logic would be, and you will be like becoming your concepts get clear, and for any unknown application you can easily develop the ladder program. Okay. So the first application that we will see today will be extending and retracting uh, pneumatic piston using latches. Okay. So extending and retracting a pneumatic piston. So extending means extension, and retracting means uh, retraction. Now this is a pneumatic cylinder. Here you can see. Yeah, okay. So here you can see the pneumatic cylinder is there, and this pneumatic cylinder has got its piston, and this piston is extended and retracted. So the application is that we need to write down the ladder programming for extension and retraction of this pneumatic cylinder. Now this is a cylinder. Here you can see that this is a piston. The name of the piston end is called A. A plus. A plus means extension of the piston. A minus means retraction of the piston. Okay. This pneumatic piston is connected to a solenoid valve. So this rectangle is called uh, direction control valve, and the position of the direction control valve is actuated by the solenoids. So this Y1 and Y2, these are the two kind of output devices. Solenoids are always output devices. So Y1 is on the left side and Y2 is the right side. So these are the two solenoid valves, and these two solenoid valves are These two solenoid valves are actuated by using this PLC. These two solenoid valves are connected to the output side of the PLC. Now we know that every PLC has got its input line and output line. So towards the input line, two switches SW1 and SW2 are connected, and on the output side there are two connections. One is solenoid 1 and solenoid 2. So Y1 is the first output device and Y2 is the second output device. Similarly, in the input side, there are two switches SW1 and SW2. So two switches are there. Here you can see that these switches are normally open switch. Okay. So the switch 1 is for the extension. So if someone presses this switch 1, then this piston should extend, and when someone presses this SW2, then this piston should retract. Okay. So this is the application, very simple application. Two switches are there. One is SW1 and another one is SW2. Similarly, two output devices, solenoid 1 and solenoid 2. And these two solenoids are operating a pneumatic cylinder for extension and retraction. Now let me tell you that Y1 solenoid is for the extension and Y2 solenoid is for the retraction. That means if you press SW1, then it will energize the first output device Y1 and you will get the extension motion of this piston. And similarly, if you press SW2 switch, then this Y2 solenoid will get energized, and because of that you will get the retraction. So Y1 is for extension and Y2 is for retraction. So these are the two operations which uh, you can complete by using these two solenoids. I think you have got enough idea about the application. Very simple application. When you press SW1 switch, the piston should extend, and when you press SW2, the piston should retract. So this is a simple application, and we need to write down the ladder programming for this simple application. Okay. Now this is the ladder programming. So in this ladder programming, first we will see the devices. This is the instructions. Step number 1, LD. So LD, these are the instruction code which we use. Okay. So device is X100, which is the first input device. So this X100 is nothing but this switch 1. This is SW1, but in ladder programming we use the code X100, X100. So X100 is nothing but switch 1. Then Y100 is output device, first output device, that is Y1 or first solenoid. Similarly, X200 is the second input switch, okay, SW2. So X100 is first switch and X200 is the second switch. Y100 is, we know that this is the output, and we are also using its relay. Okay, we are using Y100 as output and we are using Y100 as relay. Okay, so for latching, now we have learned how to latch a system. So for latching we require two Y100. So one Y100 is output device. Here you can see that OUT is written, and Y100 is relay, output relay. Okay. X200 the is the input switch. Then X200 is also LD. Then Y200 is output relay, and Y200 is also an output device, and X100 is ANI. Any required. That means if you press the X100, then when we press X100, then Y1 should be energized, and you will get the extension motion, and at the same time it should be latched. So here you can see that y100 is the output and it is latched with the input x100. That means if you press SW1 switch for few moments, then the extension motion of the piston will remain continue. It is not if you press the SW1 switch for some momentarily, and the extension of the piston is also very यानी ये पूरा एक्सटेंड होने तक आगे बढ़ते रहेगा। पिस्टन का जो एक्सटेंशन है वो कंटिन्यू रहेगा उसका फुल्ली एक्सटेंड होने तक, बीच में नहीं रुकेगा। जैसे अगर SW1 स्विच आपने मोमेंटरीली प्रेस किया तो पिस्टन जो है वो थोड़ा सा आगे होके रुकेगा नहीं, वो पूरा का पूरा जब तक फुल एक्सटेंशन नहीं होता तब तक वो नहीं रुकेगा, क्योंकि जो y100 है ये y100 क्या किया है, लैच किया है x100 के साथ। और सिमिलरली जो दूसरा इनपुट डिवाइस है वो यहाँ पे नॉर्मली क्लोज रखा है। ओके, ये नॉर्मली क्लोज है, तो पहले लाइन में सारे इनपुट डिवाइसेस ये आते हैं। तो यहाँ पे जितने भी इनपुट डिवाइसेस है, जैसे कि दो इनपुट डिवाइसेस है x100 और x200, ये दोनों जो है वो फर्स्ट रंग में दिखेंगे। फर्स्ट रंग में आपको सारे इनपुट डिवाइसेस जनरली दिखते हैं। तो यहाँ पे दो इनपुट डिवाइसेस, तो फर्स्ट रंग में आपने दोनों इनपुट डिवाइस रखा, एक नॉर्मली ओपन और एक नॉर्मली क्लोज। नॉर्मली ओपन वाला कौन सा, जिसके प्रेस करने से आपको y100 ये इनपुट चाहिए, ये नॉर्मली ओपन रखा। और y100 को क्या किया, लैच किया x100 के साथ। इसका मतलब क्या है कि x100 आपने फॉर फ्यू सेकेंड्स भी अगर फ्यू मिली सेकेंड्स के लिए भी अगर प्रेस किया तो भी जो y100 है ये सोलेनोइड जो है ये कंटिन्यू रहेगा और आपको फुल एक्सटेंशन ऑफ मोशन मिलेगा। सिमिलरली रिट्रैक्शन मोशन के लिए क्या है कि x200 जो है ये नॉर्मली ओपन है और x100 ये नॉर्मली क्लोज्ड है, और x200 के साथ y200 लगाया है, क्योंकि जो सेकेंड वाला स्विच है वो रिट्रैक्शन के लिए है। इसका मतलब अगर स्विच 2 अगर किसी ने प्रेस किया तो रिट्रैक्शन मोशन मिलना चाहिए, यानी जो सेकेंड सोलेनोइड बॉल है वो एनर्जाइज होना चाहिए, जिसकी वजह से आपको रिट्रैक्शन मोशन मिले। तो ये सेकेंड वाले रंग में भी x200 जो है वो नॉर्मली ओपन है, x100 नॉर्मली क्लोज्ड है, और यहाँ पे आउटपुट में y200 जो है ये आउटपुट मिल रहा है, और यहाँ पे इसको लैच भी किया है। ओके, so this is the ladder programming which is required for this kind of application. Okay. So I will explain this application one more time. This is a pneumatic cylinder. This pneumatic cylinder is operated by a direction control valve, which is actuated by two solenoid valves, okay, y1 and y2. y1 is on the left side, y2 is on the right side. y1 is for extension of the piston A, and y2 is for the retraction of the piston A. So there are two input devices, input switches, SW1 and SW2. So if you press SW1 switch, then because of that y1 solenoid valve get energized, and because of that you will get the extension motion of the piston. Similarly, if you press second switch, then the y2 solenoid valve get energized, and because of that you will get the retraction motion. Okay, so this is the application, and we have developed the ladder programming according to the application. So in the first rung there are two input devices, x100 and x200, but x100 is normally open and x200 is normally closed, and the output which is associated with x100 is y100. So that is why on the first rung, on the output side, we connected Y100. Now we latch the Y100 with the relay Y100 relay, क्योंकि X100 को हमने थोड़े देर के लिए भी प्रेस किया तो भी पिस्टन का फुल एक्सटेंशन मोशन आपको मिलना चाहिए और वो बीच में रुकना नहीं चाहिए, इसलिए यहाँ पे क्या किया कि Y100 को यहाँ पे लैच किया है। ओके, और जो सेकंड रंग है, सेकंड रंग इंडिकेट्स द सेकंड स्विच ऑपरेशन, सेकंड ऑपरेशन, दैट इज when SW2 is pressed. So in that when you press SW2 switch, then Y200 is energized, and this Y200 is latched. So even if you press X200 momentarily, you will get the full retraction motion. It won't stop in between, and it will stop only when the piston is fully retracted. So this is and third one is the end of the logic. Okay? So here the logic ends here. So that is why the last rung says end. Okay? So these are the 8 steps uh, which in which this entire operation takes place. The first step is to pressing the X100 switch. Because of this X100 switch, and because of the relay of the first solenoid valve, uh, the Y100 is energized. Second one is when X200 प्रेस किया तो आउटपुट डिवाइस Y100 जो है ये X200 जो है वो नॉर्मली क्लोज्ड है। X200 क्या है, नॉर्मली क्लोज्ड है, और X100 नॉर्मली ओपन है। तो यहाँ पे ANI, दिस ANI indicates that X200 is normally closed, and this Y100 is relay to the output devices Y100. So 1, 2, 3, 4. In the first rung, you can see that there are uh, 3 switches and 1 output device. Similarly, on the second rung also you will see 3 switches and 1 output devices, and last is end. So 4 on the first rung, 4 on the second rung, and end in the last. So total 9 instructions here you can see, and these 9 instructions are written in the sequence in which they are operating. So I hope that you have understood the first application of extension and retraction of the pneumatic cylinder. So if you have any question, then you can ask the question.
Sir, it's clear.
Yes. Yes.